All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. I'm good.
Sure.
Yep.
Are you sure that you're sure?
I'm trying to figure out how to create a false start here. You go. I'll think of something.
I think. I think we can't start. It's too dangerous. Oh god. Okay, I'm actually starting a new recording. You good?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone.
I just figured out how to do a false start.
I fucking hate you. This is a show. I'm not starting it over again. Welcome back, everyone, to a new installment of Screenplay Rewind featuring myself and this asshole over here.
I'm Ron.
No, you're an asshole. I'm surrounded by assholes.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Take a drink because it took us 25 seconds to have a Spaceballs reference.
Oh, man.
How do we do this again?
I have no idea.
This is where we have video, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This is video, but no audio.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does it have like silent film captions?
You just hold up cue cards.
You just hear me, like, you just see me mouthing words, and then it cuts to the all black dialogue. Asshole.
Somewhere out there is probably a YouTube channel that has no audio. It's just a guy with a whiteboard that writes things on it and holds it up and then erases it. I guarantee you.
See, and he probably has 2 million subscribers, because the weirder your idea is, the more popular it is, because less people are doing it.
Right.
We should probably do that if it's not already done. Then we could actually have like...
Someone's already doing it now as of this podcast going live, and they already have 2 million followers.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Should have fucking patented it, man.
Should have. I don't know why you keep giving this shit away for free.
Yeah. Really, really great business move on our part. But yeah, this is a podcast. We have to talk.
Which you and I proved in the green room neither one of us can do today.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a fucking shitstorm.
Oh yeah. Or shit poo. No one else is gonna know what that was referencing, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Before we get into the show proper, I have a question prompt.
Oh boy.
This is one courtesy of my girlfriend Aurora, and her question for us, Ron, is what is your favorite Disney song and why? I will let you go first, completely on the spot.
It changes, but currently it's probably Show Yourself from Frozen 2.
It's a good one.
As for why that one scene, that one song is the culmination of everything that happened in both movies, basically. It's the completion of that character's story arc and her finding out who she is and self-acceptance and self-love and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a big moment for that character. So
Frozen 2 has excellent songs.
And it's that whole scene is just beautifully done, the way everything is animated and just everything. The way everything works together, the big reveal, since we're not covering it. I mean, who hasn't seen Frozen 2? It made $1 billion, but
I think I was literally the last person on the planet to watch Frozen 2, because we watched it like what, 2 months ago.
Yeah, something like
that. I was like I was like the 99.99 percentile.
It for a while, that was the scene that always made me want to cry in that movie.
It's very good. I think Into the Unknown might be my favorite song for that movie, but I've only seen it once, so that could change, if I watch it a couple more times.
Interesting thing about Into the Unknown and Show Yourself. You can tell by watching the scene in the movie, but they were told basically to engineer a Let It Go moment for the movie.
Yeah.
Because Let It Go, remember how that exploded. Into the Unknown was meant to be that, and it ended up being Show Yourself.
Interesting.
So
they're both excellent. So
yeah,
they were probably pretty happy with the outcome still.
The Lopez's, man.
Yeah, I think my answer is How Far I'll Go from Moana. Obviously I'm a fucking massive fanboy for Lin-Manuel, and I just love that song. I love the scene transitions they have as the song is happening too, showing her inner like turmoil about what she wants to be and what her family wants her to be, and I think it just like really sets up the movie incredibly well, and it's just like a great song. It's so catchy.
The "What Is Wrong With Me" part always made me really sad.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. It's such like a great character thing to build the movie around, because it's such a personal thing that everyone pretty much goes through. Is like, especially when you're a teenager, trying to figure out, because everyone places all the pressure in the world on most people to figure out what they're going to be in life. When they're like 17 and 18 years old, about to be of the age of where we unfortunately typically send kids to college when they have no idea what they want to be, and they're just kind of scrambling. I just think it like really sells that part of the theme really well, and it's a beautiful song, sang wonderfully.
Yeah, I agree. For a long time before Show Yourself, it was what's the oh my god, I can't think of the name of the song. It's the scene when she's down and then grandma shows up to talk to her.
Oh yeah.
And then the big "I am Moana" and dives down to get the stone and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For a long time it was that one, because that was the scene in that movie that always made me want to cry.
Yeah, her grandma is such an awesome character too. Moana, how you make grandmas. Encanto, how you don't make grandmas.
Right.
Oh my god.
But I still think of grandma as the lady with the melt stick from Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Every time I hear her voice, I just hear Jeff Goldblum like, no, not the melt stick.
Oh man. You want to talk about this week's movie though, Ron?
Yes, I do.
Let's fucking. Okay, here's a quick follow-up question. If you had to pick a favorite song from like the 80s and 90s era of Disney, which one jumps out to you immediately from that grouping? Like your Little Mermaids and your Lion King, Aladdin type eras.
Oh man, I had 3 songs from Aladdin leap out at me instantly when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. My favorite villain song, Disney villain song, is Prince Ali Reprise, which is Jafar picking up the Prince Ali part at the end after he gets the genie. But Friend Like Me is just such a fucking good song.
It's very good.
I had that. Prince Ali Reprise and Whole New World all leapt out at me when you said that.
I really like actually I've been listening to a bunch of these on repeat because Aurora has a bunch of them kind of like burned into my YouTube suggestions now.
No.
Yeah, my half my YouTube suggestions are Disney songs. I really like
my life.
Right. I really like Be Our Guest, the original version, a lot. That actually ended up being I actually, surprisingly, even though I'm not like the craziest about the live action movie, I actually think the live action songs are better than the animated ones in a lot of instances.
I agree.
Beating the Beast.
That's what I was gonna say. Is while I like the original Be Our Guest quite a lot, after hearing the live action version, the original just isn't. It's not big enough. It's not grandiose enough. The way they just kind of went whole hog with just trying to make that song so epic, I think, in a really successful way, because that's the big number from that movie,
Yeah. Like, coincidentally,
they use it in their marketing. They use it in their marketing for the Disney hotels at their parks.
I think it was a like wonderful adaptation of it to kind of like modernize it for the live action one, and I think it's very good. But for whatever reason, I still like that's the one song in that movie I actually prefer the animated version over. I think the rest of them are all dramatically better in the live action version. And
I agree.
Yeah. And while we're talking about the adaptations, I actually thought the Friend Like Me and Prince Ali adaptations in the live action Aladdin movie were good. I thought they were very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Friend Like Me and which one?
Prince Ali.
Prince Ali. I'm trying to remember. I can see Will Smith marching into Agrabah, but I can't place the song. I only saw that movie once, so
you should YouTube. It's a really really catchy version of it, and similar to like what you're talking about, how they made it more like grandiose and big. They do that with that song as well, and it's actually really good. I really liked it.
Oh my god, yeah, Jafar.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about.
Let's get as Jafar away from that as we can.
Yeah, well played. Let's talk fucking. Okay, so this movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I've been excited for
the WandaVision movie got weird. I didn't think it could get any weirder than the show.
I have been excited. I've been on record, I think even on this podcast, as saying like this was the whatever fucking phase 27 we're in right now. I've lost track. Whatever phase we're in, this has been the one I've been looking forward to the most by a fucking long shot. And I was so taken aback originally when they announced that Sam Raimi was going to be the director, because I was like, how does Sam Raimi directing a Marvel movie work? Like, is it just an MCU movie? Because a lot of times they've almost just used the directors as like placeholders because they have like the singular vision of it. And this is the weirdest and most distinct MCU movie I think probably ever. And obviously we're going to be going into full spoiler territory for this, so please have watched the movie first, because we're going to go into major details that I would consider huge spoilers, potentially for other MCU projects going forward. A lot of shit has been spoiled already, I'm sure, but if you're interested at all, please have watched the movie, because we're going to go into all of the nitty-gritty details. But man, what a trip of a movie this is. What was your we'll do the rundown still with the director and writer and everything and the cast, obviously, but what was your just kind of like initial impression? Because we both did the exact same thing, where we watched this basically opening weekend, the first few days it was out, and since I had picked this to be the next selection for the podcast, we went together and watched it yesterday. So what was your initial reaction to seeing it for the first time a few weeks ago?
My initial reaction, I needed time to digest it. Like, I liked it and I liked what I saw, but as far as like, we've talked before how the MCU is ran like a TV show and every movie being an episode. Trying to digest everything that happens, because it got a little bit of the Age of Ultron treatment to it, but better managed. Some of the stuff I don't think is still as successful, but as other parts of the movie are. But I don't know, like I needed a minute to kind of figure out how I liked it. It took me a couple of days to figure out, how much I liked it. And then the second time, just like Age of Ultron, knowing what I was going into, I liked it more.
I think it's a lot better about the like narrative cohesion you're talking about than Age of Ultron, because Age of Ultron felt like a roller coaster of upcoming attractions.
It felt like a Viewmaster, and each scene was just clicking the slide and nothing. There's no connective tissue between any of them.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they asked him to do the impossible with just how much shit was crowbarred into that fucking movie.
Right.
But I think like what we're talking about with this one, it's really just like a very small section of the movie where you get that kind of Age of Ultron-y, we're setting up shit in the future type of scenes, because like I think like the narrative structure where it's focusing on Doctor Strange and Wanda is all very, very like well done and well constructed.
I think one of the geniuses of it is I could see how there's just like a bullet point list probably from the studio saying you need to set up these things, and they probably scratched off half of those in a single scene that I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
The first thing I have to say, I am stunned. I am stunned this movie is as dark as it is.
Yes.
There has actually been like a big backlash where people think this should have been R-rated, and I can't inherit
that's a bit extreme.
I can't outright disagree with them because there's a lot of it's not gory per se. But I mean, Peggy Carter gets fucking bisected, dude, with her own shield. Like, there's some brutal shit in this movie.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, but they don't.
You see Black Bolt's head implode. You literally see Black Bolt's head implode. Like,
dude, the first time you saw that in a crowded theater, what was the reaction in the audience?
Dude, it was dude, it was fucking crazy. Because like, first of all, and again, huge fucking spoilers, because this scene is amazing. When she's like, "What mouth?" and his mouth is gone, and that is enough to like, what the fuck? And then his fucking head implodes with the weirdest sound effect that, and we'll talk about the sound effects in the movie. The sound effects in this movie are amazing.
Yes,
the sound design has so many just like wonderfully weird and cool
if
points
you
to
have
it,
not seen this movie yet, first off, turn off this podcast until you have. But second, make sure you're seated in the middle of the aisle, center screen, because the sound design in this movie is amazing.
Yeah, probably the best sound design the MCU's ever had, and they're like 30 movies in.
This is where it was the most important.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I was going to say, the fact that this movie is so dark, this is just as much an Evil Dead movie as it is an MCU movie, and I can't fucking believe that happened. Because as soon as Sam Raimi was announced as the new director for it, especially with him being almost like their kind of backup option, because this was originally going to be Scott Derrickson again. Scott Derrickson, early on in production, left the project, so it wasn't like they initially...
He's still producer or executive producer?
Yeah, he's still an executive producer on it. But he's... when they announced Raimi as like the backup option coming in, I felt like what he was going to be was kind of like they got him because he was. Do you remember when the Han Solo movie, that when they got Ron Howard to be kind of like
the safe?
This is a guy with a lot of experience. He will get the movie from point A to point Z, and it's gonna get made just because he's doing it forever, and just kind of that type of guy. This is a fucking Evil Dead movie. They pivoted so far in the other direction when they got Raimi that it is a fucking Evil Dead movie, and that's why I love it. This is one of my favorite MCU movies. This is like, it's just fucking, because we probably talked about it at some point. One of my all-time favorite movie franchises is The Evil Dead. Fucking love The Evil Dead, and there's so much Evil Dead tone to this and callbacks that it just makes me. I was just like grinning like a fucking idiot in the theater both times, watching it the first time, just being completely fucking taken aback at how much they let Raimi be Raimi in an MCU movie 30 movies in. And I think this bodes so well for the MCU. This is a different topic for later, but I think this bodes so well that they're willing to let the voice change. Like, they realize that we can only have so many dozens of movies in the like cookie cutter version of the MCU where it always feels like the same voice. That can only last so long, and especially with Endgame happening, it feels like the right time to pivot away from that type of tone. And if you're just gonna let like this excites me to see like what they're gonna let other people do with the movies. If they're gonna let Raimi just make a fucking Evil Dead sequel inside the MCU with Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more plugged in to entertainment news than you are. I remember there was a moment, there was one of the podcasts I listened to was talking about how, and you can kind of see it kind of near the end of the movie, where they were like, hey, Mr. Raimi, we're going to need you to tone it back a little bit. We are going for PG-13. In the middle of development. I remember that.
Really?
And there's some moments where later in the movie, you can see how we just kind of jump in between some of the graphics where it looks like it could have easily been a lot more graphic than it was, and there's this deterioration going on with Doctor Strange later that it goes from like it just kind of makes a jump of it seems like it should be more dramatic than it was with the way he's falling apart and deteriorating and stuff. You can see where they kind of maybe airbrushed over some of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Knowing Sam Raimi, he probably had just a mountain of fake blood explode from his body.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. But the thing that this movie does most successfully, I think, is the way that it parody is not the right word, but the way that it imitates a horror movie so well, and it has that Raimi touch of a little bit of the wink and nod at the camera, it all the time throughout the whole thing. The thing I'm thinking of most though is when Wanda is covered in all the oil from the Ultron robots, like it's fucking blood. And she's chasing them underneath the river, things like that. Another wink and a nod at the camera. A specific example of that is when Doctor Strange is going to stand up and he just randomly hits the piano, and it's the stereotypical musical stinger that is now a joke from.
And we'll talk about that
movies.
Fucking scene, because that's one of my favorite scenes in anything of all fucking time. Holy shit, I love that scene so much.
Like, if you're not familiar with Sam Raimi horror movies, that is literally Raimi pausing the movie, stepping in front of the camera, giving you the most exaggerated wink, and then stepping back and hitting the play button again, because that's just what he does.
And what a genius decision too, to make this one be the one that is essentially like an MCU horror movie when you're dealing with the Scarlet Witch, who is so terrifyingly powerful. She needs to be presented in that way.
Yes.
I think it's great that they have so many sequences like when you pivot to have just like literally a horror movie when she is taking over the mind of the other universe's Wanda. Like, that scene is so cool when she is, slowly starting to possess her, and you just see her own image in the photo move, and you just start seeing all of the weird shit happening with the geometry in the scene, and the music just switches to straight up horror movie.
It's like one of those. There was a wave for a while of horror movies that were aimed at teenagers, that were all like PG-13. You had stuff like Darkness Falls and things like that were coming out. It just seemed like Bing Bang Boom all the time. It was very reminiscent of those in certain places, like that scene you're talking about with the pictures, her turning and looking at her. Her reflection is the Scarlet Witch. She drops,
they do amazing stuff with her eyes.
Yes, she drops the stuff she's carrying and it falls sideways instead of dropping down. Things like that. It's very so reminiscent of those type movies.
And it's just fucking nuts how much I have to give kudos as well. Not enough credit for people who do like this movie is given to the writer Michael Waldron, but this guy is just insane. So the guy has, let me see, he has 5 total writing projects on his IMDb resume, right?
Oh, he was a producer on Loki.
He created Loki.
Oh, he created Loki.
He's the creator of Loki. Oh. He's the writer of Doctor Strange 2. He created the Heels wrestling TV show that has rave reviews, the one that has Stephen Amell.
I didn't know he was in a wrestling TV show.
Yeah, it was the show that he left to Arrow to do.
I didn't know he left Arrow.
Yeah, Arrow is done. It ended a few years ago.
Arrow ended a few years ago? Well, good for them.
They can rest now.
You can rest now.
But yeah, Heels has a fucking 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, and everyone raves that it's amazing. And then this guy is just it's just insane. His first full blown thing, because he's just so good, and Feige just finds people that he has, and if he has confidence in you, he'll just run with you. This guy's writing Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie that he's
I was going to say, I'm looking at Untitled Star Wars / Kevin Feige project.
So it's like fucking insane. Like for your first full project, he was a writer for Rick and Morty. He only wrote one episode. So like his first full job was creating fucking Loki on Disney Plus, and then writing Doctor Strange too. So like, I think this guy is probably going to end up being remember how like the Russo brothers and the two guys, I think it was like Marcus and McFeely. You remember how they were the group that kind of orchestrated like Civil War and Endgame and Infinity War, and became kind of like the guys to run like the big projects. I think that's this guy now. I think Feige has just so much confidence in this guy's ability, and I can't disagree, because Loki is one of my favorite things they've ever done.
They used Loki to sell Disney Plus subscriptions.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the marketing for Disney Plus. It wasn't get Disney Plus and have access to the Disney Vault. It was, if you get Disney Plus, you get Loki.
Exactly. And you know, Loki is one of my favorite projects they've ever done. Doctor Strange 2, like I said before, just because it's just you might as well have just tailor-made this for me. Like,
there's a lot.
I like Doctor Strange. I like horror movies. I like Evil Dead. Like, it's just all the fucking, you know, checklists for just Jeff Crack. And I'm so excited to see like what this guy does now. Like, only made fucking 6 credits on IMDb, and then just to see like the track record already is insane.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie that is very reminiscent of Loki, so that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like when they go to the Sanctum Sanctorum in the universe having the incursion.
Mm-hmm.
That is very much like near the end of Loki, when they're like in the weird in-between world with fucking Reptilicus in the middle of it or something.
Reptilicus.
Yeah. Trypticon. Yeah, this movie, man, it's a fucking trip. The stuff that didn't really work for me was the America Chavez shoehorn. I feel like that needed more time or something. It felt that anything with her story, even though it's hard to explain because the whole movie is her story, but at the same time, anything to do with her character development was felt very rushed, because literally the moral of the thing was in the end was just believe in yourself. And I was like, I went from dimension to dimension for believe in yourself from a zombie. Like, yeah, that part seemed really, really weak to me. It's like the power of friendship was the power all along. It's somewhere like on that level.
Yeah,
to me.
She's like a 50% character, 50% just plot device.
Right.
And I
think that would have worked better if he had just kept her a plot device, because that was working fine till we got to that point. It's the MCU. You have time to, you know, stretch your legs. You can do more development with her in later movies.
They also probably just want to do that. They probably want to just save more character stuff, because they left open the plot thread of like her and her parents and everything. So they're probably going to use her again, because they went out of their way to just have this, you know, to have her be an actual character. Because America Chavez is not a character I'm familiar with.
Yeah,
but she's apparently from the comics, and you know, she's a fan favorite of the people who have, you know, read her issues and stuff. So I don't know. I 1000% agree with you. I just don't think it matters, because the movie is focused around Strange and Wanda.
My God, I just learned something.
What's that?
If we had heard him speak, I probably would have known this. Black Bolt, the guy that was playing Black Bolt.
Yeah. Anson Mount.
Yeah, apparently he's Black Bolt in the Inhumans TV series, which I never watched.
Yes.
But apparently he's also Sebastian Castellanos from The Evil Within, which is the character you play as.
Nice.
And he's Batman in the Injustice video game.
Yeah, he was actually someone that people had been throwing around the idea of actually just having him be live action Batman at one time. Wow. And if you look at him, you kind of buy it, because it kind of looks like him.
Dude. Yeah, I can see how Sebastian Castellanos was probably modeled after him, to be honest.
Probably.
Huh. That kind of blew my brain. No pun intended.
R.I.P. fucking Black. And it also just kind of was cool of them to bring him back for this.
Yeah, just to blow his braids out.
But like, at least he had some cool scenes. Because like when you're like all excited to be in a Marvel project, and that Marvel project is the goddamn Inhumans show, that sucks. That's a bad break.
I heard it was pretty bad, but I never heard why.
I can tell you why. Because it was fucking show ran by Scott Buck, who show ran the first season of Iron Fist and ruined Dexter, and is just the biggest hack in the history of Hollywood, not named James Cameron.
I didn't realize Buck was the one behind it. Okay.
Yep.
That makes all the sense.
Which, by the way, did y'all see Iron Fist? Why are you doubling down and giving the guy more jobs? Like, what are you talking? That you should never work again after having made the first season for Iron Fist. I'm just saying. Just say it.
Like pigs swimming in gravy.
I knew you were gonna say that. Actual line from that fucking show.
Oh my god.
Fucking nuts. Yeah, I 1000% agree with you. I just don't care. I just do not. I could not give less of a shit about her. I could not give less of a shit about her character because she is not why you're there. Right. I do not. Like, I totally get. I think they probably would have been better served to. And granted, the movie actually, I think one of its biggest strengths is its runtime. So all the MCU movies have been creeping towards like 2 hours and 30 minutes as like the minimum point. This movie is 2 hours and 6 minutes and feels a lot quicker than that. So they might have had more America Chavez stuff in scenes that were cut because Raimi wisely realized no one gives a shit about America Chavez. They're here for these other characters that are the focal point of the movie. We'll have America Chavez be in here enough as we need her to be to get the to move the movie's plot around and then go from there, because I think they spend like correctly more time focusing especially on like the continuation of Wanda's story. I think is very well handled here, because this is all what I wanted out of like one of my hugest criticisms of WandaVision ended up making sense because they were saving what I wanted out of that character for this. This is because their hugest problem for the longest time was their villains. And you have this like golden opportunity to make her, this really, really compelling character turn and a great villain. We talked in the WandaVision episodes that we did about how we think Elizabeth Olsen's, just fucking incredible and never got the time she deserved for how amazing she is and how good she is as this character. And yeah, like they set her up beautifully in WandaVision, just how fucking crazy powerful she is. And just like the setup for this movie is amazing. And I'm so glad they finally got to have more time for Elizabeth Olsen just to show how amazing she is.
Yeah, the last thing I was going to say about America Chavez is the reason I brought her up is we literally end the movie with seeing her at Kamatage, like training on how to like control her power. So to me, that almost just completely eliminates the whole need for believe in yourself. Because if her power activates every time she's scared and freaked out, you can just use that and then show her getting her training at the end like you did, and that corrects the whole problem. In my mind.
Not needing to.
Yeah, the whole believe in yourself, and you can kick that witch's ass. Like, to me, you correct the whole problem by just still showing her not fully controlling her powers, and then we saw her at the end of the movie at Kamatage learning how to control her powers, or beginning to learn how, and to me that corrects the whole thing. But the reason I showed up and the reason you showed up is this is the Serenity to WandaVision's Firefly, where we finish Wanda's story, basically. And the only thing that disappoints me about them using Wanda is I believe you and I, at the end of WandaVision Part 2, when we, I forget which episode number that was, but I believe you and I said that we wanted her as the Phase 4 villain. But I was happy that we got her at least for a single movie as a villain.
Yeah. And who knows? They might use her more.
I mean, we still have her, right? It's the multiverse. We still have her.
And she also has the Scarlet Witch power still within her, so she probably is not dead.
Right.
I would be shocked if she was actually dead. They could do a thing where because
we've reached the point where the Marvel Universe can do whatever it wants, and there's no ramifications for it anymore.
They can also just have it where she died as Wanda, but she's still alive as the Scarlet Witch. And since she's no longer attached to like Wanda's moral compass at the end of the day, like what ends up making her change her mind at the end is seeing like the kids being afraid of her. Since if she's no longer attached to Wanda's like conscience, she could just be a villain too. They can do a number of things, and
right.
It is just if you were gonna have her be a villain at all, and you didn't want to make her like a large scale villain, like I think this was great use of her character, and they do so many awesome things with her character, and it's amazing. Like, how awesome is that scene when she is trying to figure out how to get into Camertage, and you just see her when the audio goes silent and just whispers "run" into the guy's ear
when she slides out from behind him.
Is so good.
Like, you've almost forgotten at this point that's one of her powers, because she hasn't really used it since Age of Ultron, right? Because she's the one that gave Tony Stark his vision of the Avengers being killed and the Earth like basically being destroyed. So you haven't really seen that power, I don't think.
Yeah, outside of like she's kind of doing it.
Yeah,
in Westview, just on a large scale, but not that specific kind of instance of it.
Yeah. That's the Westview was almost more control, just action, straight up control, whereas she's planting a suggestion or a seed in people's minds.
Yeah, exactly.
When she just slides out and says, "Right, dude," her threat of everything that's happened so far is me being reasonable. What a hell of a threat that is.
Yeah, it's awesome.
When she shows up in the dark, ominous cloud also, I just like, yeah, okay. We have now said to the audience that we have made the full turn.
Yeah.
Also, Camertage doesn't seem that impressive these days after Endgame.
Yeah.
I just gotta say.
Yeah, no kidding.
I love, though, the idea that, so we always had the Hong Kong sanctum, we always had the London sanctum, but I love the idea now that they're like different in their new iterations, right? The Hong Kong was like full like Chinese garb, but it still looks like the Camertage garb, and it was the same with the uniforms from London. It was very London, but also looked like it fit in with Camertage.
Yeah,
I like the idea that we're kind of stretching that out to be almost like Harry Potter, where there was the different schools.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, like fitting in more locally with their area.
Let's quickly we've mentioned several people just organically, but let's actually just run through the cast. So obviously Benedict Cumberbatch is back as Doctor Strange. We talked about Elizabeth Olsen being back as Wanda and the Scarlet Witch. Chiwetel Ejiofor is back as Baron Mordo, but purely the other universes. I think it was like 838 was like their universe for that one. It's interesting too. I actually kind of like how the universe that they've stated is like the MCU. I think it's 616 is the universe that the Marvel Comics are like the main Marvel Comics universe is set into, which is pretty cool.
And I think the first time you hear that in the MCU was Mysterio, right?
Maybe, yeah. I think they did that as like an Easter egg then, and then it ended up being like a legit thing here.
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, and you're more familiar with the happenings in the comics than I am. Is 838 a significant one? Because we spend a lot of time in 838, or did they had to pick one?
They've done so many different universe storylines in the comics just after how many ungodly amount of just the ungodly amount of Marvel comics since the 70s. It's probably a thing. I'm not familiar with it personally, but it would not shock me at all. Because like if they have goddamn America Chavez in here, it's probably a thing. Because everything is a thing, it seems like.
because I was just trying to run through my head. It's like, why are we naming the one that we're in specifically? It just felt like another Easter egg, or it's going to be important in the future or something.
It probably is just an Easter egg to the comics, if I had to guess.
Right.
Another thing that has to be a blatant nod to the comics, because otherwise, why does it exist? The bull guy.
So, is that supposed to be the Minotaur, or is that somebody else?
I have literally no idea, but I think it's very funny to think about being that actor, and everyone's like, "Oh, dude, I'm so excited for you. You're gonna be in a Marvel movie. What character do you play?" I'm the bull guy.
Because the thing is, my only experience with the Minotaur is the Immortal Hulk, and in the Spider-Man game, there is trucks driving around the world that's like Minotaur trucking service or something. They all say Minotaur on the side of them. And that is the beginning and end of my experience with the Minotaur.
Yeah. The rest of the cast, let's finish running it down. Benedict Wong is back as Wong. Fucking love Wong.
I'm glad they gave him so much more to do.
Yeah, he's a complete badass in this movie too. Love it. Xochitl Gomez is America Chavez. Rachel McAdams is Christine Palmer in all of the universes. You have Jet Klein and Julian Hilliard, who play Tommy and Billy Maximoff. Michael Stuhlbarg is back in a brief moment as Dr. West. And then the big...
I would probably dude! I wanted this so much. This was my favorite What If. I wanted it so bad.
How much did you geek out the first time you saw that they had Captain Carter in here? It's pretty fucking sweet.
Oh, Captain Carter, that was amazing. She even had the fucking jetpack.
Yeah, and she uses it in the fight too.
Dude, awesome. her anime moves with the jetpack was so fucking cool.
And then she gets bisected.
And then she gets bifurcated, but it was worth.
It's awesome. It's awesome. We talked about Anson Mount, who's reprising his role as Black Bolt. Before his forehead gets exploded. A cool twist.
Dude,
I actually thought
this was
having
awesome.
Having Lashana Lynch play Captain Marvel was really cool.
Yes, I loved it.
She's what's her face's buddy in the Captain Marvel movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I've only seen Captain Marvel like once. I was thinking that was her, but I wasn't 1,000% sure.
Yep, that was her. And then it's you see her picture. I think a picture of her in WandaVision.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because her daughter is oh god, what's her daughter? The little girl from Captain Marvel grows up. Photon? No.
That's like her superhero name.
Yeah,
but
she gets her powers in WandaVision.
Yeah, her actual character name, I'm pulling it up now, is Monica.
Okay,
Monica
so
Rambeau.
The other thing about this version of Captain Marvel, I love that the biggest fight in 838 was Wanda and Captain Marvel, because both of them... Okay, so Wanda's powers were awakened by the Mind Stone and enhanced by the Mind Stone. But she had her own power to begin with, we found out in WandaVision. But Captain Marvel's powers came from the Tesseract. So you had people that got large portion of their abilities from fucking Infinity Stones going at it. And that's the way it should be. They got their powers from Infinity Stones, and they're the biggest clash.
Yeah, and it's just like such like a good showing. Because like even before Infinity War happened, I remember like telling a friend of mine, the first thing they're going to have Thanos do is casually beat the Hulk, because that is the easiest way to instantly establish just how much of like a threat they are.
Yeah.
And then to have Wanda just be able to, it's not easy, but within about 3 minutes, kill Captain Marvel.
Who's a Super Saiyan. Literally a Super Saiyan.
I was telling Aurora about that. Like Captain Marvel is basically Goku, like just indestructible. Just like she casually takes out the fucking Thanos ship. Like
she flew through it like fucking supersonic.
Yeah, she's crazy. And then like to have Wanda kill her in a just brutal way too, like dropping that pillar on her it's hardcore, dude.
Who's the statue of, by the way?
I do not remember.
It was a statue that she dropped on her. I was trying to figure out, was it the Captain Marvel statue?
Maybe I'd have to look for it specifically next time I watch it. But also like how the security bots are Ultrons,
Ultron,
you know?
yeah, it worked universe. In this universe.
Yeah,
the Ultron protocol, whatever, worked.
One that has potentially really big implications for future movies is John Krasinski playing Reed Richards.
Now, so is he gonna be Reed Richards, or is he Reed Richards for this movie? Because we know the Fantastic Four are coming in.
See, that's the thing, and what also throws like a wrench in the idea of this is that I believe his name is John Watts, the director of the Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland, stepped away from the Fantastic Four MCU entry that he had originally signed on to. So I don't really know. If I had to guess, I would say he is going to be Reed Richards in the next Fantastic Four movie.
Because I know that that's one of the castings that pissed off a lot of people.
Oh, really? There were also a lot of people that were actually clamoring for John Krasinski as Reed Richards before the movie even came out.
Say the two MCU castings that have been pissing off people, at least what I've been hearing and reading about, is apparently everyone is just kind of tired of John Krasinski being in everything, or directing in everything, or writing everything. And Harry Styles being
I can see that.
That's like the two that apparently there's like a small contingent that's like, yay, Harry Styles, and then apparently it's like a 50-50 split on John Krasinski.
I feel like it's probably more people that are positive about John Krasinski compared to Styles overall, just because there was like this was the thing. I had been hearing about John Krasinski and Reed Richards as Reed Richards, I should say, and of his wife Emily Blunt as Sue Storm, like a couple of years ago. Like this has been in the rumblings for a while, people wanting them in those as those characters. So I think it's now obviously like I agree he has been popping up in a lot just because after his career kind of took off with with the what was the name of the horror series he done, Quiet Place. Like his career did like kind of blow up all of a sudden after that. So I could totally get that kind of like a backlash to it, but I'm also it doesn't really bother me either way. Like because it's hard for me to get excited about the Fantastic Four just in general. So I'll be like, I'll watch it, but I'm not frothing at the mouth about it.
Mm-hmm. My only experience with John Krasinski is this movie, so I know nothing about him.
He's very good in A Quiet Place, which I'll probably pick for the podcast. For
they're doing a third one, right?
I probably
isn't that like filming right now or something?
Probably. I still need to see the second one, but I really like the first one, and I think there are elements to it that you will really like because a lot of what it's like based around are horror concepts and horror tropes that you and I both like. So I think you will like it once I eventually pick it for the show. Probably might pick it for one of our Halloween entries later this year because it's been on my short list for a while of movies to get you to watch because I do think there's elements to it that you'll like.
But we know Fantastic Four is coming in because the end of the Phase 4 trailer they put out before any of the movies started ends with the Fantastic Four logo as the 4 for Phase 4, and then in WandaVision they make a direct reference to Reed Richards. So and then we finally see him here. So we know they're coming in, as well as the X-Men.
But let's talk about just real quick, dude. Like the way that she just turns him into spaghetti.
He just comes apart like a rubber band ball.
It's fucking hardcore, dude. You're just like it's hard to watch. Like the way
I'm surprised it took him as long to scream as it did.
Yeah,
I was screaming immediately.
It's terrifying. She just so casually just.
And then
murdering
that pop
them horribly.
Sound he makes when she opens her fist.
Yeah. So okay. So, what is your opinion on them having Patrick Stewart back as Professor X in here?
Fuck yes.
Because see, like to me, this is like the thing. Now, obviously, I love Patrick Stewart as his character, and I love that he's just in the fucking comic wheelchair. It's really cool.
I know that wheelchair from the cartoon, but yeah,
it's from the cartoon too. And then to have the musical stinger with the you're doing like the '90s cartoon theme, which is so good. But I want. Like I'm more okay with them having John Krasinski as Reed Richards going forward than I am anyone not named Patrick Stewart or Ian McKellen as X-Men characters going forward. I don't want any of the other X-Men film characters, like from the most recent batch of movies. I don't want any of them as their X-Men characters anymore. I want that aspect of it to be rebooted going forward. So this actually scares me a little bit that they had him as this guy.
If they were going to do it, if they were going to do it, it had to be him. If they were going to do it in this movie, it had to be him.
But it scares me because this was exactly what I was worried about after they acquired Fox, that they would just copy paste their X-Men versions, which mostly suck, into the MCU. This worries me a little bit.
I think by working in a musical stinger from the 90s cartoon and changing the wheelchair, I don't think you have to worry about copy paste. Because
it just
the movie that he came from made fun of the idea of superheroes wearing colorful spandex. So I don't know. I think with a multiverse, you can do anything you want. I think if they were going to do it, an effective way to tell an audience you're going to do it is to bring back one of the three most iconic people from that franchise for a moment. I mean, you can bring in anyone, you can completely recast. You can have someone new, McAvoy and Stewart, all together if you wanted, because we're in a multiverse. So
I just really hope they go the route of making original casting selections and having a new kind of tone for it. Because, like, man, you haven't seen just how bad some of those later X-Men movies got, man. Like, they're brutally bad. The Dark Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix one is so bad.
What's the Ivan Ooze one?
The Apocalypse one, so fucking bad.
With Moon Knight. Moon Knight got weird in that movie.
So bad. God damn.
Because I often forget that's was it Oscar Isaac?
Oscar Isaac, yeah.
I often forget that's him.
But yeah, I think Patrick Stewart's obviously great here, and
dude,
it is cool. Dude, the way he gets taken out is also fucking hardcore.
Okay, let's talk about let's sit here for a moment. One, I like the idea of a psychic going up against witchcraft she's trapped in her own body, and if he pulls her out, it will probably break the spell. I like the idea that he doesn't know that for sure to begin with, because he's out of his depth. Yes.
That sequence is so cool. The way that she is just in the rubble underneath like the door in just a field of like infinite like white nothingness.
And
is such a cool visual. In
that rubble, it's not like just the house. It's like that's from her childhood as well, as we found out, like with the bomb going off and everything. But let's talk about the moment his neck gets cracked. Wanda's a fucking demon.
Yeah.
And
she's a nightmare. She's like literally a nightmare at that instance.
She's literally a nightmare. Now, is that how she sees herself? Is that how other Wanda, 838 Wanda, sees her? Is that why she looks like that? Is this just the way Patrick Stewart sees her? What the fuck, movie?
And talk about amazing visuals when all you see is like the red smoke billowing towards the rubble.
Slowly billowing towards him as he's trying to pull her out.
It's so fucking well done. I love it.
Yeah.
That's the thing right there. There's so many like little touches like that.
I like how also he's doing the most Patrick Stewart thing I've ever seen, which is the fucking nightmare he has stepped into. And he's just all calm and collected. Don't worry, we're gonna get you out of here. This red smoke is coming up behind him.
Yeah.
And just being as calm and collected as he could be, which is why he was always the perfect Xavier to me.
Yeah, love me some Patrick Stewart, obviously. All of my like worries I was talking about have nothing to do with Patrick Stewart himself. He was always amazing and perfect, and I love his scenes in here. All of my quibbles were potentially, just hypothetical ways they could go in the future that I think they won't go down, but just talking about out of speculation. Right. But man, like the billowing red smoke in the like the symbol of the rubble and everything is just like, this is the type of stuff that like I think makes this one like special, because I can't ever remember like this many like distinctions in like tone or just elements that like stand out to make it feel different than in like the last like 10 other movies combined. Now obviously like I don't think this is, because we've talked about like some of its problems. I don't think this is like a perfect movie by any means, but just like the balls this movie has to be different and to be like to actually have like a voice that's outside of just the MCU cookie cutter voice, I think is so perfect for this point in time, and is obviously, since it's all Evil Dead related shit and horror, I'm all in 1000% for it for me personally. But I think it's just good in general, and I hope they continue going down this route of just letting people kind of like play in the MCU, make their own like you remember, and it's also just like a big kind of like shifting point in how they're running it in general. Because like you think about how much this is a Sam Raimi movie, and they were so diametrically opposed to letting Edgar Wright make Ant-Man an Edgar Wright movie. So like this is just showing like in like a post-in-game world, they're going to be more open to doing weird and different shit, which is good. They need to be doing this more. They need to shift away from, you know, just how like bland and you know, like how the Eternals has like no identity to it. This has, you might not like Doctor Strange 2 because of what it does, but it has an identity to it. It's very specific.
Much. It's Sam Raimi's toy box is what it is.
Exactly. So let's round out the we'll probably talk about the Charlize Theron thing a little bit later, because I have no fucking clue who she's supposed to be.
I have no idea what's going on. That got the biggest pop in the theater. People were cheering. I don't know what I just saw.
Me neither. I don't know, and I'm also totally okay with that, because I like being surprised, and I like getting introduced to characters in these types of movies that I'm not familiar with, because I'm familiar with most of them, and it's cool to have like kind of oddball stuff. Also, just how awesome is the pizza Papa Bruce Campbell thing?
Oh my god, I want him to be the new Stan Lee for no reason.
Dude, agreed. But just the idea like of having his like arm trying to kill him, as the Evil Dead callback is so cool, and I just love that little bit.
Yeah, another wink and a nod, but it totally works.
There's also, let's just run down like some of the Evil Dead isms that are in here. The thing with the evil books is Evil Dead. You know, you had like the Pizza Papa thing with Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell, you know, people probably familiar with him from the Evil Dead. You know, he's like has he ever not been in a Sam Raimi movie? Because I'm pretty sure he's had him as a cameo in every fucking movie he's ever done.
He is in the Spider-Man movie-based game for PS2 as the guy that does the tutorial.
Yeah,
and there's a point where he literally ends one of the tutorial lessons like, okay, now I'm gonna go make a sandwich, and then the next tutorial lesson he's eating the entire time he's directing you.
Fuck yes, he is,
and it's amazing. I was like, what is happening?
Many camera angles. There's a lot of like Dutch tilts.
Yes.
Like the scene that is probably where it gets like the most Evil Dead like visually is the sequence when Camertage is being attacked by Wanda.
Yeah.
And you see the doors closing around, I think it's Wong, Strange, and America. And you see like when the doors slam, they have the camera tilt in opposite directions and like 45-degree angles. Those are very Evil Dead camera angles that Raimi loves to do. There's like a lot of that type of stuff.
The Deadites are straight up in the movie with the Souls of the Damned.
Dude, you want to talk about this movie being Jeff Crack? So you have Doctor Strange.
You're master of the mystic arts. Use them.
You have Doctor Strange possessing his corpse from a different universe, being attacked by the souls of the damned, and zombie Doctor Strange controlling
possessing
the souls of the damned.
Body is forbidden, Stephen Strange.
When he possesses them,
trespasser,
into fucking soul-filled wings and turning himself into a fucking Bloodborne boss. I'm just like, yes.
I was with Wong. I don't even want to know.
I don't even. Yeah, that's probably my favorite line of the whole movie. I don't even want to know. God damn it, I love it. It's so weird. It's so weird, and I love it. Oh, dude, and that image of like, I love how all of the arms remain like individually like controlled, where he just has like the arms jittering in like random directions and shit. It's such a fucking metal image when he has all the arms like as the wings. I love it.
Trespasser. It even has like the Deadite voices.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, that kind of like high pitched like asshole like.
Dude, okay, hold on. The callback to Doctor Strange 1 when he picks up the cauldron thing, and Mads Mikkelsen pauses, and then he goes, "You don't know how to use that, do you?" And then Doctor Strange just throws it at him, and then she picks it up and just uses it as a cannon to just blast the fucking souls of the damned away.
Yeah. That bit is very Evil Dead, where she's fighting off the what's essentially just Deadites. That sequence is 1000% Evil Dead, and I just imagine watching this, like, having not seen the Evil Dead movies and just being like, what the fuck am I watching?
One of the questions I had, we actually answered last night watching the movie a second time, because I was just like, why is he trapped? Like, they specifically say in the first movie that they use their sling ring to travel the multiverse, and then they end up trapped in the multiverse, and it's like, well, I kind of missed the part, I think, the first time when all the sling rings just dissolve into red mist and no one has a sling ring anymore.
And I think their abilities are also a little bit America's abilities seem to be like more potent when it comes to traversing the multiverse, because like you remember like all the trouble Strange goes through even to do some of the stuff in like No Way Home. Like their multiversal abilities outside of controlling stuff in the mirror dimension seem incredibly limited. So I that's how I kind of like took it too.
But in the first movie, she literally says we use our sling rings to travel the multiverse.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what is happening? Why is he so dumbfounded about traveling the multiverse? But even if that is a thing, I missed the part where his sling ring was just literally evaporated into red mist.
I actually really like, I don't know how much that is a comic conceit, the sling ring, or if that was created to give him like a potential weakness. But I really like the idea of like turning it into like a web shooter situation, where if you take out Spidey's web shooters, he's more fucked normally than he normally is. So I like that, because you need to have, that's one of the things that kind of, they need to have some weaknesses, which is one of the things that makes like Captain Marvel and like Superman so hard to fucking write, because they have no goddamn weaknesses. Like, what do you do?
Right.
You just have to amp up the ability of the bad guy, and that's what makes it kind of get ridiculous, because then you end up having, well, why does the Justice League need to exist when you have Superman?
Exactly.
Shit like that. So I think they wisely gave him like some built-in like weaknesses. Let's talk about one of the coolest sequences in the movie is the musical note battle.
Ding.
When this scene was like unfolding the first time I watched it, I was like, there's no way.
They're not.
There's no way. They're not doing this, right?
Who would do this? Why would they do this?
Oh my God. And I love it so much.
And they're doing this. This is happening. When the notes slice the candles in half is when I was like, this is happening.
It's happening, dude. And then like once the notes hit, it's like a different like classical orchestral tidbit, The
THX logo, the is what I thought of both times when he just fires the brass section at Doctor Strange with the bong.
I love it so much.
Which always takes me back to Tiny Toons. It's the sound test.
Yeah, that's a great bit.
But yeah, dude, that whole thing starts again. Stereotypical, not only stereotypical stereotype, whatever you want to call it, of a horror movie, the piano stinger, but that is also a wink and a nod stereotype of Sam Raimi films. And it's literally a joke with him going to stand up and randomly hitting the piano and doing the ding, and that starts the entire music battle.
This is one of the things that like I think the combination of like Raimi and Waldron is like so perfect for Doctor Strange, and like you just totally see like why they sought him out for this, because like they both work so well together, because they just fully embrace like the weirdness that you like need to do to like really adapt this character. Because like Doctor Strange, he has these types of stories that are just like out there. Like, did you know there's a Marvel comics, I think it was like a mini series where it's about Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom on like a buddy cop adventure through hell? Like, that's a thing that happened. Like, these are the types of things that like where they fully embrace like the weirdness of the character that I think serves it really well, and like further gives it like more of an identity and makes him like, by making him like a weirder character, they make him more like distinct. They get him away from like the cookie cutter nature of it, of like a lot of the characters have. And I hope they have this combo back for more, because like, man, I want more of it. Even if it's not as specifically horror or as specifically Evil Dead, just knowing that they will commit to doing weird shit, like the fucking, what is up with the third eye? The third eye is out there, man. Like,
I'm pretty sure that's a thing from Doctor Strange comics.
Probably. But just the fact that they have that in the fucking movie.
Yeah.
To audiences, because like it was out there for me, and I've read some of the comics. I'm familiar with how weird the character is, and I was still just like, I can't believe they adapted that for the fucking movie. So like,
the ancient one told him to open his eye, okay, and then she grabbed him by the forehead in that exact spot. So what do you want from him, man?
And the way they introduce that as like the ending of like, and obviously they have like the post and mid credit stuff, but like to end the movie on that too, to have just like a legit Raimi horror movie ending like that, where it seems like, you know, everything's gonna be honky dory, and then the music starts to distort, and then the fucking third eye happens. You're just like, what the fuck am I watching? Like I was gonna say is, you know, some of this stuff took me back as someone who's like familiar with how weird the character gets, but to just standard MCU moviegoers, just like how weird they could find and react to this movie is fascinating to me. That they just fucking went for it, dude.
Right. Yeah. The thing that weirds me about the third eye is the way they make it look, where it's like embedded and it has like its own eyebrow and stuff. Like it's so weird. It's so fucking weird.
It's unsettling to look at. It really like makes
is.
You uncomfortable, and I think that's intentional. I think they intentionally made it. Because, like, I feel like they could make it more seamless, but they're like, no, motherfucker, it's a third eye in his forehead. You should be unsettled by it. Right. And you should be unsettled by the mid-credits thing where he appears, like, just fine using it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really strange. The thing that I think I appreciate the most about this movie, though, is, you know, we've talked about this before, like on different streams and stuff, where video games taking advantage of the fact that they're a video game, right? Like the Stanley Parable does.
Yeah.
This movie takes full advantage of its medium and plays with the fact that it is a movie. Like it does things that only a movie can do, like the music battle, right? You're not going to get that. That's not going to come across a book. You're not going to do that in a TV series, and a video game is not going to be an interactive thing. But to be sitting in a movie theater, enveloped in sound, right, with the entire wall in front of you being a screen, is the only way you're ever going to get to experience that battle. They do the same thing with the characters and the different versions of Doctor Strange himself and everything. It's just seeing how weird things can get and everything. It takes full advantage of the fact that it is a movie in more ways than most movies out there in general do, you know?
Yeah. How weird is it to have so far into like 3 decades into Sam Raimi's career? This feels like a passion project almost.
Well,
that's
crazy. They gave him
like,
the keys to the kingdom and then they left.
But when you look back at like Sam Raimi's like career over the past few years, like he had started to just kind of like trail off. Like I remember he did the Wizard of Oz prequel, and he just ended up taking on some like strange projects for him.
Ba-dum-bum.
And I did totally unintentional, by the way. It feels like such a breath of fresh air, both as, you know, someone who likes the MCU and also someone who loves like Evil Dead, and, you know, not even just Evil Dead, but just Raimi movies in general. Like, and some of like he's just such a perfect fit for this character. Like he my friend Josh, that I follow on Twitter, like I think he said it best. Like he like basically reinvented the character here, going forward, which is really cool. You know, that they're willing to take a character and reinvent them. Like the one that this makes me think of similarly, just into different aspects and different in different ways and methods to like reinvent your character. But like Thor, like how many times Thor has been reinvented, and he appears to have been reinvented yet again with the way he's presented in the trailers for, was it Love and Thunder? Like they just I
cannot wait.
I can't wait to. And that's one of those things too. It's like, like we talked a little bit earlier about how I think you had made a reference to Ragnarok. I actually have a lot more appreciation for Ragnarok now than I did back then, just because in a similar way, they let them be weird with it. They let it feel different. They let it be its own thing. I always appreciated
it for that. I still think it's not as good as everyone says, but
I agree. It is overrated because some people say it's like their favorite MCU movie. I think that's kind of far-fetched.
That's to me
personally. Like when Endgame exists, I don't know how you can say that Ragnarok, and obviously, that's a later entry, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
But I have so much more appreciation for Ragnarok and Love and Thunder, the way that it's looking and how they just let them be their own thing. And that's the most important thing going forward is this, after 1,000 movies of MCU entries, and especially on the heels of Shang-Chi and the Eternals, which we're starting to make me I don't know about the trajectory that we're going with these. This was a breath of fresh air that I think they do have hope in, as far as at least continuing this franchise. It'll never reach what it was. I think people need to come to terms with Endgame was the end of what people think the MCU is, I think. Because there was only so much. There's only so many movies you can make.
You can only edge me for so long. 11 years of edging.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think we have to come to grips with the fact that
Endgame was the full release. Now we're just cuddling with the MCU.
Yeah, and just let people be fucking weird.
Which one makes you more uncomfortable, my analogy or the third eye?
Oh, that's tough. Probably yes.
Probably yes.
Probably yes.
The cuddle puddle.
Another awesome, just we were talking a little bit about the sound. The sequence that I think has some of the best sound work in the movie is where right before Wanda escapes into the reflections, which just the fact that I just said that fucking sentence, it's yes, please.
Yeah.
But that sequence where she gets
very
trapped,
reminiscent of that one Doctor Who episode.
Yeah. Where that sequence where she gets trapped.
The no hands guy, though. Why the no hands guy?
I like the no hand guy. Yeah,
he's the one. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have Doctor Strange, because he kept saying he couldn't do it because of his hands, and then he walked up and did it all like it was nothing.
I know, it sucks. It's also just fucking crazy just how many goddamn no wonder they got to recruit Ned now. They don't have any fucking wizards left, man.
Right.
But that sequence where she gets trapped in the mirror dimension and she eventually fires.
Doctor Strange has to be sick and tired of teenagers at this point, right?
Absolutely. They keep fucking breaking the multiverse, man. Strict no teenagers allowed. They have doesn't no teenagers. Well, now they need them to refill their numbers. So he's fucked, but
then he ran into literally the only person in the multiverse with this power, and now he's oh shit, another teenager. It had to be a teenager.
Goddamn teenagers. And I would have gotten away with it too.
And I would have been meddling teenagers in the multiverse.
And the multiversal teenagers, which is also probably a punk rock band somewhere.
Oh, it has to be. If not, it is now.
But the sequence I was talking about where Wanda is trapped in the mirror dimension and she fires off one of her Scarlet Witch blasts, and the sound that the beam makes as it's radiating around the room in the mirrors. It's fucking awesome. Man, I love this movie. I know some people are. I just I think its Rotten Tomatoes score is interesting.
Oh yeah,
and that it's at a 74%.
Oh,
which is interesting to me because I actually think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
it's a good thing because they're actually daring people to not like it. They're breaking it out of the mold and letting it be its own thing, and not making it as milquetoast as it possibly can. I think it's good. I think we need to let them continue down this trend. I think I've talked about pretty much just real quick. I think an unsung hero, oddly enough, I think Benedict Cumberbatch with the way he plays the different renditions of Strange. I think this is a really underrated performance because he always has little distinct differences between when he's the first Doctor Strange at the beginning that ends up being the zombie just the way he acts when he is the zombie, I think is really good. Like he really sells like how twitchy he is, like when he's talking. Right. I think is really good. The sequence where he's talking to himself, in the is it excursion? Is that what they call it when the universe?
The incursion.
The incursion. Okay, thank you. Where he's talking to himself in that scene, and he talks about how like like his sister had died, and he's having just all these conversations with other versions. Right. When he's having just all these other conversations with himself, and to have like the characters be clearly different, I think it's an underrated performance.
Are we gonna have another incursion, you think? Because
probably
they made a big point about the Darkhold being destroyed in the entire multiverse, but Doctor Strange made a point in the first movie about his photographic memory, and he's seen the Darkhold, so it still exists in his mind.
It's also interesting too. Where do you think they go with his character, like as far as like the third eye, and like do you think they're gonna have like an ongoing plot line of how he can't really control himself and he's leaning darker just because of like what he's been exposed to?
I mean, they could. He's always been about like absorbing demons and shit, right? Which he's been doing. By the way, we didn't even talk about that. He summons hydras, and there's like this one-eyed Cyclops pig thing that eats a thing at one point that he summons. Like, we didn't even talk about that shit.
Yeah, true. Also that scene where he generates the spectral buzzsaw to chop the thing in half that's coming at him is really cool to see.
Yeah, I like the way that, by the way, that whole moment, he walks out, there's just this bus floating in the air, imploding on itself, and he's like, the fuck? So he does like the iPhone like zoom in motion with his hands.
Yeah.
And it reveals the monster, and as soon as it's revealed, it turns and looks at him like it knows he did a thing. And then he literally does a hand motion that just explodes the bus into one of those explosion diagrams, and you're looking at a manual for like a part number. It just explodes the bus to reveal her. I thought that was really cool.
When he's possessing the like giant hands to use the like, was it like a huge light post? Yeah, as a weapon is fucking great. What's also just funny is I think I talked about I think we might have talked about it earlier in the episode for the question. We recently watched the live action Aladdin, and it's so funny to me. Doctor Strange's cloak is an homage to the carpet from Aladdin.
Absolutely.
But now when I see the carpet in Aladdin, it's almost like reversed in my brain now. Like
I was gonna tell you, in the bus scene, America Chavez actually lands on it and rides it like carpet.
Like but like it's like it should be the other way around. Doctor Strange's cloak should remind me of Aladdin, but now it's just Aladdin's carpet reminding me of the awesome cloak in Doctor Strange.
You remember in the first movie when it wraps itself around the guy's head and just starts slamming his head into the ground over and over and over?
Yeah, it's awesome. I also love that scene in the sequel where Doctor Strange has been knocked out cold, and they have like a hard cut to the cloak, just like slapping him left and right across the face to wake him up.
In Infinity War, when he gets squeezed to the point of unconsciousness, it flies off with him. Yeah,
I fucking love that thing.
I love they're treating it more and more like the Invisible Man, because after it is slapping Doctor Strange, and then America needs help, it literally turns around as if like it's being warned by a guy.
Oh yeah.
When it turns around to look behind it towards her, it literally turns around like it's being warned by a person, and then floats in that way. It's not acting like a piece of cloth. It's acting like it's on someone, and then turns around and looks, and then flies off that way. Yeah.
I'm just looking through the images on IMDb, and I found the one that is fucking zombie Doctor Strange with the deadite hands and wings.
Yes.
Oh my god. This is like gonna be my fucking Twitter banner for everything now. I love it so much.
Also, props to the MCU for I mean they did it one time in WandaVision as kind of a joke, a wink and a nod. But I'm really glad that there's not like, well, as Wanda got more evil, she just didn't get sexier and sexier costumes.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Like that's usually the way that goes, is apparently as women turn evil, they get more loose, and they wear more and more scantily the more and more scantily clad, but she's her costume is badass.
I love that costume. I like the touch too, like where her like fingers are blackened from like the spells and shit.
Like Agatha.
Yeah,
Agatha's awesome. Like that also. This is the one-eyed octopus monster is on the poster, by the way, to the movie.
Oh yeah, I love that. Where do you think they take like I'm actually really curious to see where they go with Wanda's character now, because they do you think?
I think we're going to be cool on Wanda for a little bit.
I think they're eventually going to have another season of WandaVision that is about because I don't think she's dead.
No, she's not dead.
And I think because you remember in WandaVision they kept the other Vision alive, right?
Right.
So I could see them doing another WandaVision, maybe even a shorter season, maybe like even 4 episodes instead of whatever it was, 6 or 7 last time, of like Wanda having removed herself like from the Scarlet Witch, and her kind of like reconnecting with that Vision. I can see them doing that. That's like almost like a follow up to both WandaVision and this.
Yeah.
I think this movie is like just fucking tailor made for me. Just checking off all the boxes that I was wanting out of this, and like I had told you, like that I had been so excited about this one specifically, and it like still. Usually when I get that hyped, I end up being let down, and I was happy that this actually met my expectations personally. And it's not a perfect movie; it has problems. There are better entries in the MCU, but this is one of my favorites.
Right.
This is easily in my like top 5. Just as far as how fucking bonkers and horror related it is. Like, of course it was for me. Where do you kind of like come down on it?
Oh boy,
just in general.
I don't know. I would have to. I'd have to think about that one.
It's tough because it's almost like apples to oranges. Trying to think about it in that context. Is like, how do you compare Doctor Strange 2 to the Winter Soldier? It's also hard.
My top 5 is pretty full. I think there's more than 5 in my top 5 to begin with.
Yeah.
And 2 of them I think are basically 2 halves of the same movie. Just real quick, I was thinking about this. I wanted to bring this up on the show. Do you think we're ever going to see Doctor Strange win? Do you think, because that was the whole crux of the first movie, right? First, he loses every time he encounters Mads Mikkelsen. He loses to Baron Mordo every time he trains with him. He loses to Dormammu again and again and again and again and again. And that's all just in the first movie. Then in Infinity War, he loses to Thanos. Well, first off, he gets captured and then taken to Thanos' home planet. And then he sees that he has to lose to Thanos to save everybody. And then he's dust for 5 years. And then in this movie, he loses to Wanda, more or less.
I think, honestly, just the fact that he hangs with Wanda at all is a win.
Right.
Because she's Goku. So I think he wins in this movie. I think just that simple fact that he is even able to compete in some of these sequences at all is a win for him in the win column. Ron is just sending me images of the fucking third eye.
I just spammed it.
Is it also like upside down? Because it's like it's got some like weird proportions to it with like the
I think
forehead.
They just copied and pasted one of his eyes and then rotated it upside down or something. I don't know.
It's so fucking weird. I love it.
So weird.
It's so weird.
It's so weird.
So weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably all we had to say about Doctor Strange 2. This is one this is probably going to go into my maybe not yearly, but pretty regular like Halloween rotation. I could see me just like busting out. I could just see me busting out, my copy of Doctor Strange 2, or it'll be on Disney Plus, so just watching it on there or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of like that. That's the kind of way I see it going forward. And could not. You're gonna tell me fucking zombie Doctor Strange uses the souls of the damned as wings, turning himself into a Bloodborne boss, and like I'm not gonna pick it for the show? Are you high? Like, of course I'm gonna pick it for the show. Like, yes.
Sometimes it's wings, and sometimes it's a cape. Like in this image, it's that I'm sending you now. It's a cape. Like it goes but when he's back like and forth.
But when he's actually like crossing the ravine, the streams, it's like it like flaps like huge wings. It's so crazy.
It's so good.
Love it. So I'll let Ron introduce the next film here in just a second, but just real quickly, if you would like to follow the show more, you can always subscribe to us on whichever platform that you found us on, whatever podcatcher you use. We're on Twitter at SPR Filmcast if you want to check us out for show updates. Please leave any ratings or reviews on whichever platform you're on. Always helps us out. And Ron, you got anything you'd like to plug this time?
Yeah, I'm at Ronsense on pretty much all the things. Ronsense TV, Twitter and YouTube. I'm kind of torn on what to do for my next movie. I thought I'd have it figured out by the time
we took a brief. We basically skipped an episode, so you had a whole month instead of 2 weeks, and I like how you don't know what you're gonna pick.
Well, so with the loss of Fred Ward, that I had thought about picking one movie there, but I don't know, just everything in the news and everything going on, I kind of wanted to focus on something more positive. I can't really figure out what I want to do. So I think I'm going to let you pick between two completely different movies. I was going to do the first Tremors as a Fred Ward tribute, or one of the most positive, good feeling, good vibe movies I think I've ever seen in my life is Moana.
Okay.
And I just don't know which way I want to go. If I want to go to a happy place, or I mean, they're both kind of a happy place for me. Tremors and Tremors 2 are two of my favorite movies, but
you pick whichever one you want, man. It is yours. Like, I'm not gonna pick for you. You got to pick one. Your selection. And I'm good either way, by the way.
Here's the other piece of the puzzle. My next two picks were going to be Tremors and Tremors 2. So, I don't know.
Cut in the Jeopardy theme song.
I know, I was thinking about doing something here.
If you want more time to think about it, we can also just announce it on Twitter like we did with this one.
Yeah.
If you want more time.
I think I have to do Tremors just because Fred Ward, with the passing of him recently. I know Fred Ward was many things, and he was always great in everything he was in. He did all kinds of different movies and TV appearances and stuff. But if I hear the name Fred Ward, I'm thinking Earl Bassett.
Yeah, I am not as big of a Tremors guy as you are, and that was still the first thing that came to my mind when I heard the news. Was I think when I think of him, I see him as that character in Tremors, so I totally get it.
So I think I'm gonna have to go ahead and you already know my next two picks.
There you go.
So with a little bit of Jeff in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm never saying that again.
Just where I like to be.
Oh God, give me the third eye. Give me the third eye.
Give me the third eye.
Any day.
Oh man. I probably make the third. Well, I'm gonna make one of the third eye images the upload image for this episode.
You should just edit it to just the forehead for our fucking Twitter profile banner.
I can't do that to Nick Cage plunging a Willy's Wonder.
Gorilla Grodd.
I cannot. It's there, Ron. I can't do it. I can't take down that image, man. It's too good. It's Nick Cage plunging Gorilla Grodd in Willy's Wonder. Like I can't. It's there. As much as I love the uncomfortable third eye, I can't do it.
If we named each individual podcast the Uncomfortable Third Eye, I think would be the name of this episode.
Is that the name of the Futurama podcast is ever going to happen? The Uncomfortable Third Eye.
Yep,
now I just got an image of Bender with the third eye with one of his on his forehead,
with the square pupil and everything,
with the Doctor Strange cloak. I would watch the fuck out of that, dude. Where's my Futurama goddamn Doctor Strange crossover, dude?
Oh my god. And I've been watching Futurama clips on YouTube. I watched one time now. My entire YouTube suggestion.
You played yourself, man.
Right, and one of them I completely forgotten about was Hermes trying to get into the supply closet, and he's just like, Fry, Amy, put your pants back on. I need a stapler. And it cuts inside the supply closet, and Fry's like, it's totally working. They think we're making out. And they start tandem juggling. And then he goes, wait, why aren't we making out? She goes, I don't know. And they just tackle each other to the ground. Like, fucking love that show so much.
Yeah,
wait,
maybe we should like do a podcast. Maybe we should like do a podcast on it or something. I don't know.
I don't know. We need to name it. I can't come up with a name.
It's impossible to name. It's impossible. I have a better chance of growing a third eye on my fucking forehead than I do naming that podcast, dude. But again, thanks everyone for listening, and have a good night.
Oh my god, how old. It feels so late.
Yeah, I got like an hour nap in, so I'm doing okay, but if I didn't have that nap in, I would have been fucking toast for this.